My Monstera dubia has grown too tall for my apartment, so I really need to give her a chop. Hi everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just moved apartments and I have much lower ceilings, so I'm having a hard time fitting this plant into my new apartment, and the newest growth is currently scraping across the ceiling, not really doing any good to the plant or the ceiling. So it is definitely time to get on top of this plant, give it a chop and extend, and make it slightly more manageable for the new place. Now I'm also filming at my new place for the first time, and because this plant is so tall I can only film outside, and today is a super sunny day, so I'm apologizing in advance for the crazy changes in light exposure and so on, but this plant is also too big for me to actually use my umbrella. So it is what it is. Now let me show you the top actually, because I don't think you can really see it right now. No, still not. Alright, now you should be able to see this. This is the top at the moment. Nice beautiful leaves, but you can see it has definitely grown way off its pole over here. And it has all of these roots over here that are just dying to attach to something and have nothing to attach to. Now this plant has been, let me turn it around. This plant has been on the grow vertical for quite some time, and you can see that it has a lot of roots within the pole over here. So today I'm gonna take this pole apart and then I re-extend it, but probably keep it at around my height, not any taller than that. So I'd say let's get right into it, because it is bloody hot today. This is actually the first time I'm doing a chop and extend with a grow vertical. So let me see. So first things first, this is made out of 2 grow verticals, and Grow Vertical is the company I've been using for a long time now. And I use them specifically for plants that really need even more room inside the pole to grow a larger root system, because it just really gives it a lot of room for moss. A lot of room for moss means a lot of room for roots to grow into it. You can definitely see where they overlap. So the first one ends here and the second one starts here. So I'm just going to have to get rid of all of these cable ties to separate the 2 poles from each other. And today is really going to be a bit of a learning curve for all of us, because as I said, I haven't really done this before, and usually when I do my poles, they don't overlap. So to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to go about this. Actually, I'm thinking I'm just going to cut through the pole. Let's just do that. I think everything else will be way too finicky. Sorry, so I'm going to undo my work. Well, told you, this is a first for all of us. It's okay, we can learn together. Anyway, today it's been raining non-stop last week since I moved into this place, and today is the first day of the sun. And let me just, oh my god, it's too big. Look, I love big plants, but they get so hard to manage. Stay. Yeah, if they just get too hard to manage, it's not really fun anymore. So I'm just gonna cut through the plastic over here using a Stanley knife. Oh, and what I've done leading up to this day as well, I cut a hole in the stem so that the cut already had like 48 hours, 48 hours to dry out, because I'm gonna pot this up straight away today. Let me show you what I mean by that. I have no idea if you can see this, but I can't really come much closer. But over here, I cut holes in the stem, so there's 2 stems on here. So I'm just gonna cut through the mesh at the front now as well. So I've cut through the pole, I've cut through the plant, and I've cut through the mesh. In hindsight, it was probably not the best idea, but when I set this all up, I put a garden stake in here in the middle to kind of give it stability. But that garden stake, I would either have to cut through this as well, or I would need to try and slide it out. So I'm gonna try and slide it out. Ooh! Ah! That worked. And now, I'm just gonna apply pressure and see if I can push this further up. Ah! How good is that? Okay. That worked so well. Let me park the bottom part on the side and we're going to talk about that in a sec. Wow, I did not expect that to be that easy, honestly. Okay, now I usually like to take a little bit of moss out of the bottom part over here because that's all going to be airwood mix. But given that it's protected by the plastic, I don't think it's too bad because really only the front is going to make contact with the airwood mix. And I can already feel that there's a lot of roots in there. So you know what? I'm gonna not bother. I wanna get this potted up because it's a bit of a pain to maneuver right now. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pot it up in a 25 centimeter pot. I'm gonna pot it up towards the back end of the pot. And I'm gonna have a slight backwards tilt of the pole because obviously all of these leaves are pushing it forward. I made a big tub of my aeroid mix and I can't find my shovel. It's okay, I'll use my hands. I was born with 2 shovels, right? So, put this all in here. So, what I'm going to do with the bottom part is I'm going to give it to Tim. And the good thing is Tim lives so close now. Only like 200 meters, I can just walk this over later. Don't need to worry about it fitting in a car or anything like that. So he has a lot of space in his new house and I am determined to fill it with plants. It's gonna look really nice. We're gonna do a big garden makeover at his place as well. But yeah, the bottom part over here is gonna reshoot in 1 or 2 spots. Most likely the top node, so that's usually where the plant will always send the growth hormones into the top node. But given that this plant would have a huge root system, right? This plant has all of the root system within the moss pot as well as within the pot, but has much less leaves to support now than it did before. So it should have plenty of energy and, you know, focus available to grow more than just one new shoot. Specifically given that it's already quite mature. Now also, given that both parts have a huge root system within the moss pole, I can bring it closer now. It's more manageable now. You can see that there's quite a few roots within the moss pole over here. This should be enough of a root system to be in proportion with the size of the plant, right? Because obviously if you take a cutting that is not in proportion to the root system, then the plant is going to focus on re-establishing a root system, meaning it's going to grow smaller leaves. But if you take a cutting where the root system is in proportion to the size of the leaves, the amount of leaves and so on, then the plant should technically continue as if nothing happened. I would expect some slightly smaller growth. Also, given that these leaves at the top received much less light recently, because at the top of the ceiling there's less light. So already just based on that, I'm thinking the first couple of leaves will grow a little bit smaller, but I should then recover really, really quickly. All right, got a new grow vertical that I want to extend this with. Oh, hang on, these are 2, aren't they? Yeah, okay, I just need 1 of them. Okay, now I said not taller than me, huh? Little bit taller than me, okay? Little bit, so like here. I'm gonna cut these cable ties so that I can put this on here to overlap it slightly. I have decided from here onwards. So yeah, so it's been 1 week at the new place and it feels great. I'm loving it, Brad is loving it. He's currently just sleeping under the couch. But we explored the courtyard a little bit, but as I said, we had a full week of just rain, so neither him nor I did anything in the courtyard. And today is very, very hot and very, very humid. The plants are loving it. Plants in the greenhouse are loving it. I think the plants in the greenhouse are getting slightly less light than they did before, which they actually appreciate because it was very sunny in that courtyard before. Okay, so I've got this done. Now overall I have to say I prefer my normal chop and extend. It's much easier, but I suppose this was an experiment. I did a couple of, maybe half a year ago, maybe a year ago or so, when it would have been a year ago. Did a little experiment just to see how it goes. And the plants are loving it. Ultimately, that's most important. Like this and this. And I'm going to cable tie everything together now. So I'm going to rebuild. Yeah, come on. The first one is annoying. Once you've got a couple in, things will get easier and easier. This is the official technique. You rest it on your head. Yeah, you just need to get the first couple in. And then it will be smooth sailing from here. Yeah, so to be honest, I didn't see much of an increase in leaf size with this dubia, and I think that might just be it, what I can offer it indoors, which is more than fine. I mean, I grew this from the smallest cutting years ago. Oh my god, this is really tricky. But this plant used to have just one vine on it, and then I cut it, and then it reshot in 2 spots, and now I have 2 vines on here, right? So instead of just growing larger and larger, I'm just growing it lusher, which is also perfectly fine. Okay, this leaf really needs to stop being in the way. Okay, now I'm just quickly going to do the other side. So yeah, also at some stage, just because the leaves are getting larger, they're not necessarily looking better. So of course I appreciate large leaves, but for me it's more about the challenge of seeing if I can do it. And I feel like, yeah, I've done this with this plant for sure. I like juvenile and mature leaves on this plant. Now I just want to grow it in a way that is convenient for me. I don't want it to be a hassle. I want to be able to take it out, just hose it off and so on, rather than being so complicated and annoying to deal with. And to be honest, right now it is getting a little bit annoying to deal with because it's just being too tall. So I want to, besides the fact that it just literally doesn't fit in my apartment anymore and the new growth has nowhere to go, it's been overdue. At my old place I had really high ceilings, so it didn't really bother me as much. It was easy to ignore that issue, but over here, not so much. Okay, and ideally I would have done that much earlier, before this plant has all of these annoying things in the way, right? They're annoying me right now. They're gonna make this so much more challenging than it has to be. Okay, now I need to also Actually, let me finish one thing off. I'll just do all of these cable ties now. Oh my god, there's so much wildlife here. I've already seen possums, rats, everything. See, now this makes sense, right? This is taking on shape. Bloody knew you were gonna overheat. Anyway, and this, I just checked the footage. It looks terrible. Lighting is horrible. But bear with me, guys. I will eventually find out where the good filming spots are, or the good time for filming and so on. But today I just did not have time for any of that. Please don't tell me I cut this wrong. No, I cut this right. Okay, so now I'm inserting the mesh and I'm going to just connect the 2 meshes together. And again, this plant is in the way. Can't guarantee that I'm not gonna damage the leaves, but it is what it is. It's just a leaf. It will grow another one. now connect the mesh to the wire. Even put a little fan on you guys so you guys don't overheat. Meanwhile, that fan was meant to be for me. Just wondering if I should have built the pole first and then attach it. I don't know, always a bit smarter in hindsight, right? Okay, I'm not gonna do it all at once. I'm gonna do a little bit, fill it with moss, do a little bit, fill it with moss, and so on. I got some moss, I just soaked that in water before. These big grow verticals, it's called long fatty, this type of pole. It takes so much medium. It takes almost twice as much as my normal moss poles. That's one of the reasons I don't give all my plants grow vertical. I could also use a different medium, of course. I could use tree fern fiber, but that's even more expensive and really messy. And I'm gonna put this back inside. It's one of my favorite plants. I think it really creates a nice jungle vibe inside. And for inside, I just prefer moss. I think it's just a neat way of watering, even though obviously with the closed moss pole, watering isn't as big of a concern. Okay, I'll just speed this up for you guys so you don't have to watch the whole thing. Okay, need to cut off a lot of things. And then we're finally done. We can look at the finished result. Alrighty, I need to get its pot because it's not very stable the way that it is right now. That should be better for all of us. It's just too tall for the umbrella. There we go. Okay, now that it's in a pot, it has a little bit of stability. Let me see if I'm happy with this. It's a little twisted in itself, but that's okay. Looks okay, doesn't it? Alright, we've got this. And we've got the bottom part. I'm not going to extend that now. I'm going to let it reshoot first. The annoying thing about doing all of this outside is that it's really sunny. Obviously the sun just disappeared now that I'm done. But the good thing is that I can just hose everything down super easily. So I'm going to hose everything down. So this hose is leaking in so many areas. By the time it gets here, it has hardly any power left. Oh my god, this looks ridiculous down there. Way too many leaves. That's better. It's dripping down my arm. It's disgusting. Yeah, I need a big day of just getting on top of the garden, including the garden hose, and the greenhouse, and the repotting, and so on. Right, I'm just gonna water this really, really thoroughly, and just let it all drain out here for a couple of hours afterwards. I mean, I technically shouldn't water this now. I should probably bring this over to Timmy's first, but too late, is it? Alrighty, that was it. I successfully chopped and extended my Monstera dubia, and to be honest, it was much easier than I was expecting. But I definitely learned a few things that I can do better next time. So I think next time I'll pre-build the moss pole and just be a little bit more organized, kind of calculate how much of an overlap it's gonna have and so on, leave that part empty so I can just slide it on later and so on. So my Adansonii has the exact same setup and it's probably gonna reach the top of its pole in like the next couple of months. So I'll get an opportunity to do better, or try to improve on this process. But ultimately, there is no right or wrong. As long as the end result works for you as well as the plant, then you're doing the right thing. That's it. Right? I'm just twisting the cable ties inside so nothing can get caught on the sharp ends that are cut off. Okay. What I'll do is I'll lean this against the greenhouse so it can drain quite nicely. And this one too, I'll lean this against here so it can drain. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe and leave a nice comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Well, hello. Oh, nice.